How's everybody doing? Great. Yay, I'm so excited to be here, part of Starrcast. The fact that we get to bring the sessions here, a reunion of the ages, if you will. I've wanted to have this man on my podcast kind of since we began the podcast. So the fact that we get to do it here in person together with all of you guys is super, super cool. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, give it up, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. Got photos and everything up here. Yay! You didn't bring your coffee out?
I didn't bring my coffee.
Boo. Boo, boo, boo. Here's my first question. Is it really hard to not have that knee-jerk reaction to do the yes when you walk out?
Oh, I've never had the knee-jerk reaction to do the yes. I was always I either purposefully did it on my own, thinking this is really funny and fun, or I was forced to do it.
Okay.
And they said,
we love being forced
that
to do
picture
things.
that they've got behind me, that's from WrestleMania 30, where 2 titles, my neck was in really bad shape, and the people at ringside kept going, keep yesing, keep yesing. I was just like, oh, this sucks.
I don't want to do it. How are you feeling? What's going on with you?
I mean, not a lot, you know. Nothing's going on. I feel great. I hopefully look great.
You look great. He looks great. Everybody give it up. He looks great.
I was just hoping for that. Just baiting people to just tell me I look good.
I had to make up for the fact that I emasculated you before we walked out here.
She did emasculate me before we come out and did this podcast. It's a strategy she has. I feel like she did that on Talking Smack, too.
I did not. Okay, Talking Smack.
Okay.
I loved doing Talking Smack, and I get asked about Talking Smack all the time. It was one of those moments in my career where I was like, oh my God, this is the thing that I love doing. We weren't scripted, Wild West. We just got to fuck around. Sorry. We got to mess around. Did you?
Can we say?
We can swear here, yeah?
Yeah. Do it.
No.
Come on.
No,
A little
I've
bit?
got kids.
They're not going to listen.
They might fucking listen to this thing, and my little boy's going to fuck somebody up, and I don't know. It's just going to be.
What is your memory of doing Talking Smack?
Okay. So it was a little bit of a nightmare for me. So I enjoyed it in the sense of sometimes I was trying to get fired.
Yes, I could feel that.
So, bringing up fisting on Talking Smack. I was
The
trying
hog.
The hog. Oh God, I forgot about the hog. Doing a whole bit for weeks on end, and when they told me after I'd done it the first time, please don't talk about James Ellsworth having a huge hog. And I would just bring it up constantly because I was so frustrated at not being cleared to wrestle that I was ready to go. And also sometimes they would bring me to TV just to do Talking Smack.
It was a hit television show. Of course they did.
It wasn't so hit that they kept it going. So
yeah, I mean, it lives on now, not to what we were doing, but it does still kind of exist to a degree.
What do you mean?
It's still a show. We're
Talking
just not
Smack
on it.
is a show?
It is, right?
No.
I think it is.
Nah.
They do Raw Talk and Talking Smack. It's much different from what you and I were doing.
Oh, okay.
Now it's a polished in a studio show.
Oh, okay.
We were we had no backdrop. We had Rhino was coming in dressed as Santa Claus and shit.
Nobody's accusing AJ Styles of being a flat earther? Is that not happening on their shows?
I'm pretty sure that's where it got kiboshed.
Oh, okay.
So I always loved doing that show. But yeah, it was a really interesting time in your career where I was like, well, I'm reaping the benefits of working with a man who it's a really special place when you don't give a shit. And you can just have fun. You don't really care what the repercussions are going to be. So I was loving that. But I know for you, it was definitely a weird part in your career where it was what's happening?
Yeah. So there were parts of it that I really enjoyed that really made me laugh. We had one episode. It was really, really great. Alexa Bliss is on. Do you remember this?
Happened.
So Alexa Bliss is on. Maybe she had just lost the championship or something like that. I don't remember exactly the thing. But I had said something to her, and then she's also like, and the Patriots just lost the Super Bowl. But this was on a Tuesday. The Super Bowl was Sunday. That's when they had that great comeback in the fourth quarter. And
I do remember
there was a writer in the back saying, see something about the Patriots. And she didn't know what was going on, so she said, and the Patriots lost. I was like, well, great news. I'm sure you've missed it, but the Patriots actually won. They came back. And she was just so like, right? I don't know.
That was a very funny
the
moment
Miz
on that
one,
show.
The Miz one.
The Miz one's kind of the most epic thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
We don't need to like harp on this, but what is like your recollection of that show in that moment when that was all going down with you and Mike?
So
I was shitting my pants.
Yeah, because, gosh, part of me like doesn't want to let the cat out of the bag.
Sure.
But part of me loves the story.
Tell the story. Tell the story. Tell the story.
I think Mike may have told the story already, so maybe the cat's already out of the bag.
The cat left the bag and is in the alley. Let's get to it.
So Miz was very frustrated. He was Intercontinental Champion and wasn't being on TV much. I was very frustrated that they weren't clearing me to wrestle, despite numerous doctors having cleared me to wrestle. And you know, I understand why, but that's a long story anyway. So just getting to the point of my frustration. And then so we came up with this thing, and the original plan that Mike and I had come up with was I was going to fucking deck him.
No.
Like that we wanted to get under each other's skin so much that it was plausible that I would legit be angry enough to punch him. And so that was the intent. And then I was going to punch him, and then we thought, and the idea was either they're going to fire me or it's going to make people want to see the match so much that they're going to have to clear me to wrestle. But then Mike did such a great job. Intuitively, I felt it was better to walk off.
Interesting.
And leave him, because it was also like, God, this is so good. Leave him with his heat.
Right.
And it was like...
He was like in tears. He had tears in his eyes.
He was so good. He was magic.
Yeah, he was.
He was magic. And I think that's the thing. Mike and I don't like each other. Legitimately. And so...
Did you just get goosebumps thinking about it?
I might just be cold.
Okay.
But maybe. I don't know. But Mike is also somebody that I respect a lot for working very, very hard.
Sure.
And so, like, when he was just going off, and I was like, this is so good. It'd be so good if I punched him. But maybe it would resonate more and be better for him if I walked.
Right.
And so that's what happened. So and then everybody, including Maurice, was like, what is going on?
Yes.
Why is this happening?
I remember they cut to me. I'm like, and we're going to take a quick commercial break. Not really sure what's happening here.
So
if you had actually decked him, I might have blacked out because it was so tense sitting between the two of you. And I'm like, oh, something bad's happening here. If you had actually physically attacked him, I would have passed out on the desk.
Yeah.
So I guess thanks for that. But it would have been good television, too.
It would have been great television. It might have gotten canceled, but I might have gotten fired. It would have been... I don't know. There would have been pluses and minuses.
Well, the show got canceled and you don't work there anymore anyways. So here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are. Okay, what was that last year like for you with WWE?
Oh, it was magic. You laugh thinking that I'm lying, but it's not. I don't know. Nobody else has said this. I loved wrestling in front of no people. I specifically loved wrestling in the Performance Center with no noise.
Yeah.
Because it was like, whoa, this is wild.
I remember, was it you and AJ did like a 2 out of 3 falls match or something like that was like really crazy?
Yeah. So I'm kind of proud of that, but that wasn't what I'm into.
Okay.
Because there were people there. They had the people
the
who were
NXT
trained.
crowd.
Yeah, the NXT people who were like, they're not really cheering like a crowd would, like emotionally, right? So they're just cheering because they're supposed to cheer. And then when it goes to commercial break, we stop and everybody just stops and everybody just sits down, and then they're like, okay, what are we gonna do next, right? And but I loved like the performance center with no Thunderdome, just like me and Drew Gulak. We're just doing wild stuff. I wrestled Claudio, and we were just talking about that the other day. It was a lot of fun. And then I was a little bit a part of the creative team.
What was that like? Because I remember hearing that you were part of the creative team, and like, how did that come about? And like, even for you to like accept that position, we all know what that position can be like.
Yeah,
obviously different for you, but
so the pandemic was happening. Somebody in one of my segments, it was right before Bree was about to give birth to our son, Buddy, and it was like a month before that. Somebody in one of my segments had gotten COVID.
Oh, shit.
And they called me and said, hey, you were in a segment with somebody who got COVID. A bunch of people in the segment got COVID. You might have COVID. I tested. I didn't have COVID. But then I said, I'm probably not coming to work.
Yeah.
I requested. I didn't say, like, hey, I'm absolutely not coming to work. I'd say, like, hey, I don't think I should come to work. My wife's pregnant. We didn't, due soon. And so anyways, so they were completely fine with that. They were great with that. And then Bruce Pritchard called me and said, hey, I know you're gone, but would you like to be a part of the creative team, be a part of the meetings and stuff like that they were doing all like through Zoom and all that kind of stuff anyways. And I said, yeah. And so I did that. Huh. I loved it. I know a lot of people have talked a lot of crap about writers or...
Oh, thankless job.
Yeah, it's a thankless job. I think there's a lot of smart, fun writers.
Absolutely.
That I loved working with.
I would always think that too, because like you see those writers and like obviously they have amazing resumes. They are smart, brilliant people. You're just working within certain circumstances, but they're amazing.
And like there's a writer, I hope he still works there. I think people sometimes reach out to me via text, but I never check my phone. And then I'm like, I have over 3,000 unread text messages on my phone. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I
texted you months and months ago to do this show, and you didn't respond to me.
Text is a bad way to get a hold of me.
I'll text Bree next time.
Yeah. Actually, texting Bree is the most efficient way. To,
people do that to me too. It's bullshit. People always message me for John. It's so not fair.
Yeah, well, we've got the game figured out. Mm-hmm. So like Ryan Callahan, who was one of, if not the lead SmackDown writer at the time, we would talk about SmackDown sometimes on Mondays. He's like, hey, I'd like to run some ideas by you, and we talk. But then we just talk afterwards. I love Ryan. Like, I loved dealing with Bruce Pritchard. Like, I know some people talk bad about Bruce. I love Bruce. Like, so I mean, I really enjoyed it. I loved working with the writers. Jen, I forget Jen's.
Jen Pepperman.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
She's hilarious.
Great. I love Jen.
And she won 2 Emmys.
She's amazing.
Right? Yeah. So
people that want to like talk shit on the writing team, they are very qualified, right?
Yeah. Well, they're
so you know.
Not only are they qualified, they're fun people to be around. If you can accept that they're not wrestlers, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like, hey, this is a fun person to talk to.
Yeah.
Like I found, Kirsch.
I knew it was going to be Kirsch.
He's the best. He's the best.
Yeah, love Kirsch.
Yeah, so many people are just so much fun.
So so you had such a great time. You look at the career you were able to have at WWE. You got to do so many amazing things. What came down to you deciding to part ways with them?
So people think I had 2 options between WWE and AEW, and the reality was that I was considering 3 options, which was WWE, AEW, or just not being a full-time wrestler anymore and just being more of a full-time dad.
Yeah.
When I told that to Bree with the money that each company was offering me, I think she wanted to kill me. She might have wanted to kill me. But really it came down to a little bit schedule, a little bit of creative freedom, and also just this idea of I had been there for so long.
Yeah.
Maybe something a little bit new would be fun. But then also I also kind of wanted to bleed. And
okay.
And so, which is a weird thing to say.
Let's unpack that a little bit.
Okay. So
what is the deal?
There is some. So if you were to ask me to bleed right now, in front of however many people we have
Call me
here,
the hard way, you brother.
I would say, no thanks. That doesn't sound like fun. You get in front of 1,000 people in the moment, inside a wrestling ring, bleeding. There's something about it that just makes you feel very alive, right? It's just
Is it like the blood in your eyes, in your mouth?
I
You're
don't know.
fighting for your life a little harder?
I don't know what it is. There's just something to it. There's a magic to it. There's a magic to it that
I would like to conduct some kind of cross study on a few of you guys.
You should. You should ask your husband because
Trust me, I know.
he bleeds every match.
Comes
most
home.
Most of the time, not on purpose.
He came home last night. I fell asleep early last night, so he slept on the couch to not wake up the dogs and my daughter and all that. And he was like sleeping on the couch, and I had his hoodie up, and I just like pulled it back to be like, "What are we working with here today?" But he was okay. He's fine. Nothing. All good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bleeding thing is just this other. I don't understand it, but that's.
You do it every month.
Well, he's right.
Is that?
He's right.
Wait a second.
But
We talked about fisting. We just said fisting. There wasn't any. There wasn't a single
ovulation, menstruation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's a natural part.
But mine's natural. Mine's not like self-inflicted.
Okay.
Does that make it different?
Yeah, you probably don't enjoy it nearly as much.
I don't. Mine has like side symptoms that come with it. I'm in a really bad mood. I'm bloated. I'm hungry. I'm upset. It's all bad.
Yeah.
All bad. Okay, so you wanted to go to AEW. You wanted to do this different style. You kind of wanted to just, especially at this age as well, to like see what this, I don't want to call it like a last run, but like really strong years of like kind of being in your prime, right? Mm-hmm. Of just kind of figuring out like what else can you do? You're a man that is like a wrestler's wrestler. Was there also, I don't know if I like read this somewhere, was there an option of you maybe staying with WWE and also doing dates with New Japan?
Yeah, I think they were trying to make that work out.
Yeah.
Which it eventually did not work out.
Did not.
So, which I think is good for everybody.
100%.
So,
definitely.
So, yeah.
So what was the moments like between you leaving WWE and then going to AEW?
Well, I took 5 first time in my life. And I just spent time with my kids, and we were in Tahoe, and we were hiking, and we were just doing, it was amazing, which is why the third option of not going anywhere was very appealing to me.
I get it. I get it. When you get to spend time with your kids like that and just kind of step away, and you've already been able to scratch that itch for so long. I mean, of course, there's things that you want to do and all that, but when you see your kids and you get to hang out with them, I definitely get, like, even times for me, I'm like, should I just hang at home with this baby right now? Because it's really a good time.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's
Yeah.
so nice. Let's go back to when you retired.
Okay.
What all went into, I mean, I know obviously the medical side of things of you having to retire, but having to go out and actually like cut that promo. We were in Washington when you retired as well, right? Your mom was in the crowd?
My mom was in the crowd. A couple of my friends were in the crowd. Yeah, it was weird because Vince McMahon had called me on the Saturday. It was a Monday when I came out and gave the speech. He called me on a Saturday and said, We're not going to clear you. I'd like you to announce your retirement on Monday because people at that point, it's getting close to WrestleMania. People are wanting me to come back. I'm wanting to come back. Like, let's just get everything out of the way. Don't give them hopes that Daniel Bryan's going to be back, all that kind of stuff. And what better place to do it than in Seattle, where you're from, that sort of thing. And at first I was like, I got to think about it. And then I talked to Bree, like, they're not going to let me wrestle. I might as well be able to do it in front of my friends and family in the building where my dad last saw me wrestle, which was like very emotional for me. And so, yeah, so it was a really hard day. It was a hard day.
So even leading up to that day, though, like having that conversation with Vince and swallowing that pill of like, I've got to walk away from this right now. Like, what were those conversations you were having with yourself, the conversations you were having with Bree, with your family? Like, what? I can't imagine somebody saying, you can't do this thing you love anymore.
Yeah, so it was hard, but it wasn't as hard as it sounds, and especially with how much I love wrestling. Because once I did the speech and I stepped away, I wasn't around wrestling.
Yeah.
So I started, oh, God, but then we had to film Total Bellas. Jesus. Okay, that's the part I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, so then shortly after this, so I have to give this retirement speech, and then I have to go live in John Cena's house.
Woohoo! Take off your shoes.
Because we're filming Total Bellas. I hate. I don't hate many things. I hate filming reality
What do you
television.
hate the most about it?
God, all of it. It's just like you're constantly changing clothes on the same day to go film something to pretend like it's a different day. This is supposed to be real. Can't I just wear my same clothes? And they're like, no, you cannot.
Just have a uniform like John, white t-shirt and jeans.
And I also, it was really hard because, like when you're going through something like retiring, this thing that you love gets taken away from you, you'd like to be around friends and family. Bree was on the road full time with wrestling. So so she was leaving on like Fridays, not coming back till Wednesdays. We'd film Wednesday, Thursday. She leaves on Friday. I'm in John Cena's guest house. There's all these rules. I've got the dog. It was just like, I love John, right?
Yeah.
I think John's great, but that's not the ideal thing to be in. And then they manufacture these arguments that sometimes turn into real arguments.
Great.
And then one of the real arguments got real.
Oh, shit.
And then it was like, oh, Jesus, I don't want to be here anymore. So I just left. And, it was bad. Yeah,
Wait, you and John had an argument?
No. It actually started with me and Nicole having an argument because Bree and I had bought this property. We were going to build a house. I wanted it to be a smaller house.
Got it.
Nicole wanted it to be a bigger house. It's not your house. It's my house. Then it got into this thing about, oh gosh, yeah. So this.
Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's get into it.
It got into this thing about deserving stuff, right?
Oh shit.
About deserving this or deserving that or whatever it is. And my opinion on all of it is that none of us deserve these things that we've gotten. For example, like, I'm here. I've met a lot of fantastic wrestlers along the way who never got to where I was purely because of luck, good or bad. Good luck on my side, bad luck on their side. When you look at somebody like Nigel McGuinness,
right,
who in theory, the only reason he wasn't me or more successful because he was honest about tearing his bicep, and I lied about concussions and seizures.
Yeah.
And so that wasn't a thing that I went into the doctor, and when they're asking you these questions, it wasn't like I was thinking like, oh, I got to lie to him about my concussion thing. They ask, and in that part of your brain that just reacts on instinct, they said, oh, no, I'm good. And and his thing was like, well, I got to tell him about my bicep tear or whatever. And that's the difference between me getting to where I got and then him never having a match in WWE, right?
Yeah.
And so like a lot of that kind of stuff is just luck. And so anyways, when we get back to the deserving stuff, somebody deserving a bigger house, when a bigger house is worse for the planet and all that kind of stuff. And Bree and I had talked, and that's didn't even seem to be what she wanted anyways. And then we get into this big thing, and then I was already close to the edge anyways.
Yeah.
And when you talked about being close to the edge, I mean like close to the edge. And so then I just left. Didn't go to Kathy's wedding, which I feel really bad about. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, it was bad.
Yikes.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you guys to make up? I mean, you and Nicole are really close.
No, I mean, we apologized and had like that day, but it had put me in a mental state where I was. I mean, if there was ever that's the closest I've ever come to like, okay, this is.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Oh my gosh.
With all of it, right? So it's like, so yeah.
I was not ready for the story.
Yeah.
I did not have that written down. It was not a question.
Hey, let's talk about the worst day of your life. Can we talk about that
I
one?
do like to get people emotional on the show, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't get super emotional about it now.
No.
I love my life now.
Yeah, you got a great life.
I got a great life.
Great life, hot wife, cute kids. It's all
Hot
working
wife,
out.
cute kids.
Yeah, good career. It's
Good
all happening.
career.
And not to take away from those amazing, beautiful things, but you mentioned the concussions and the seizures. When you're going through those things, I mean, you were just out recently with injury again. What kind of goes into that? What goes into you being medically cleared again? What is like that process?
Well, so seeing a neurologist, and it was interesting. This last one, he said, after you start feeling better, we're going to have to have a serious talk about your long-term health. And I thought what that meant was, after you feel better, I'm going to talk to you about not wrestling anymore.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I thought he was going. And then my brain scans came back so goddamn good that, that not a single person could say anything about it. And I think, it's interesting because I do put a lot of work and effort into keeping my brain healthy and doing things outside of normal stuff to keep my brain healthy. And so I think that's paying dividends a little bit. And so yeah.
Tell me about some of that stuff, though, because, okay, so you have to retire due to the concussions, due to all these circumstances, and you took matters into your own hands. Everyone told you not to wrestle. You went and did your thing. What does that mean? What did you do?
To say everybody told me not to wrestle, that's a bit of a stretch, because I was cleared, but that was the frustrating part, is that I was cleared by several neurologists, but not the one that mattered most. And then there were 2 neurologists otherwise who wouldn't clear me, and so it became like kind of a mixed issue,
right?
Err on the side of caution type thing. But the developments in medicine and science are so much better now, and so there's a lot of stuff like hyperbaric oxygen therapy and all this kind of stuff.
How often do you do that? Like, what is that? I hear these words and I don't actually know what that is.
Yeah. I don't think anybody cares.
Oh, okay.
But
I was somewhat interested.
But for those of you who do care,
Google it.
It's being placed in like kind of a tube where it's 1.5 atmospheres of pressure, lots of oxygen being flooded into your brain. A lot of the military is doing it for people who have had concussions and all that kind of stuff in military things and that sort of thing. But it's not FDA approved yet, so it's not, for example, all that stuff's a long process. So anyways, I did that, where 100 sessions of that, where I'm in there for an hour and a half each time.
That sounds like a claustrophobic nightmare.
Oh, I love a good uncomfortable claustrophobia. I think it's a good chance to like really practice Zen and meditation, and that's a real thing. Like, you put me in an
uncomfortable... That's literally giving me like anxiety. I'd have a heart attack.
You put me in an uncomfortable position, my first thing is to freak out, and then shortly after that I'm like, can I stay calm in this position? And in most cases it's yes. In some
but there
cases,
has been a no.
Yeah. So before I had my neck surgery in 2014, they were, God, I forget what it's called. The long needles.
Oh.
Long ones.
The
Yeah.
Shit.
They
what
were
is
doing.
that called?
They were doing something to alleviate the pain.
What was it? No, not acupuncture, right?
No, not
like the
acupuncture.
needle.
Yeah, no.
We're talking the good stuff here.
Epidural style. Yeah, epidural style. And so it was like, so they had me, I was face down, and, they numb up your whole back, so I'm not supposed to feel anything. And then all of a sudden I got the worst pain I'd ever felt in my life, and the needle, this giant needle, had hit the nerve. And the doctor was like, oh, God. And like, he said, oh, God. And then
abort mission.
I screamed out, fuck! and then they're like, well, we're already here. Do you want us to do it? And I was like, do you want us to try again? And I was like, okay. And then they finish, and then they come up to me with all these waivers.
Oh,
and they said,
shit.
we forgot to have you sign the waiver. And I'm just trying to, I'm trying to just, not die.
Yeah.
And so I signed the waivers, and yeah, finding Zen in that moment, I was not capable.
Oh, that's horrifying.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Yeah, I was already in such a state of panic when I was getting my epidural that I was like, just do whatever you got to do back there.
Do whatever you do.
We'll get through this.
Do
It's
whatever you do.
all going to be fine. Okay, so you're in like the hyperbaric chambers. What other things are you doing that help your brain, help your body? I mean, you obviously do a ton of research, a ton of reading. You're a pretty smart guy. What else are you doing?
Yeah, so I think diet, I think, helps brain function. There's a lot of that I probably don't want to get into because I don't want to give people the wrong information. I am not a doctor.
Fair.
I am not somebody to listen to for advice.
You guys all signed the waiver, right?
Yeah. But I think there's some dietary choices that you can make that affect brain health. I also think constant learning is good for neurological circuits in your brain. And I think, there's things about like, okay, cardio, like 30 to 45 minutes of cardio at like 120 beats per minute. This is getting too deep into the stuff, but it helps your brain recover.
Oh.
So I've never been somebody who's into steady state cardio. I like doing sprint work. I like doing that sort of thing. But apparently the steady state low cardio is good for improving brain function.
Interesting.
So all of that kind of stuff, just a lot of the stuff on longevity science about staying away from Alzheimer's and all that kind of stuff that you can look up and research now. I mean, there's a lot of great information on it that they've advanced in the last 10 years. And even just that, I think also will improve people's brain who have had concussion issues.
Yeah.
And so yeah, all that kind of stuff, I think. But it's also fun to learn new things. It's fun. Like I learned how to speed read a couple years ago.
How do you learn to speed read?
Oh, God.
I'd have like a ruler on each line, like trying to just like make the most of it. What do you do?
Yeah, some people think of speed reading is skimming, and it's not. So I'm at, right now, over 500 words per minute, which is most people on average read 200 words per minute. John F. Kennedy apparently read 1,000 words a minute. So, I mean, there's still room for improvement.
Where do you gather this intel from?
What's that?
It's amazing.
So it's amazing what you can learn if you read books instead of look at your phone.
Right. Sure.
I think that's like a real thing. So
Yeah,
one of the things
agreed.
people ask me about social, when they talk to me about social media, and I especially like some of the younger guys in the locker room who really love social media and all that kind of stuff. And my point of view on it is this: if you're looking to it for if you had a good match, how good is my match? Let's look at Twitter to see if I was doing a PhD in psychology, I wouldn't submit my paper to the people on Twitter to see if it was good. I would probably ask my professor. Likewise, just as far as general information, I think most people spend less than 5 minutes crafting a tweet or
Oh, I do that all the time.
Instagram.
I'm like, oop, where's that edit button? Whoops, a daisy.
Yeah. So it's like, it's not something people have put a ton of thought into, whereas, for example, a great nonfiction book. Take Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that guy has spent his entire life learning the history of humanity and put it into one book that you can read in, I don't know.
It's a pretty thick book.
Yeah.
It's
So
a
it
big
takes
one.
me about a week, right? So most people it might take a month. But even just reading, if you spend an hour on Twitter a day, spending an hour on Sapiens, you would get so much more out of it.
Just better for your brain. I actually like.
Oh, and
I
staring
insist
at
on, like,
screens
horrible.
is so bad for your brain,
Yeah.
and it's so bad for your happiness in the idea of people are less patient now.
Yeah.
People
It's like
are
the,
probably
serotonin
getting
boost of,
impatient.
scrolling.
Dopamine. There's a great book called
is
Dopamine.
it dopamine, not serotonin?
Nation, that came out this year that was really good. So yeah.
There you go, guys.
Yeah.
This has been our TED Talk.
Yeah. So if somebody asked me, man, I'd like to know more stuff. Well, get off
It's
your phone.
there. It's
and,
all
yeah,
right there.
It's all there.
It's all right there.
Great books.
Okay, so you are reading, you're learning, you're hyperbaric chambering, all of these great things. You get medically cleared to get back in the ring. When it was announced that you were coming out of retirement, I remember, we were in San Antonio, I remember that being like, wait, what the fuck just happened? What was that like on your end? Everyone else was rattled.
Oh, it was wild in the sense of I was doing a signing in, God.
Hey, pipe down back there.
He said, hold on. I thought he was talking to me.
Wait for that shirt.
I thought he was talking to me. Hold on. But so I was in the Middle East somewhere doing a signing in the Bahrain Comic-Con is where I was. Flew to Pittsburgh, did all these evaluations, got cleared by Dr. Maroon, which actually made me cry. Flew the next morning from Pittsburgh to Texas. Slept in. Got all these text messages on my phone at like 3 p.m. Where are you? You should be at the building. And
You're booked, bud.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then they kind of let me say whatever I wanted, and just saying you're cleared. Like, I was very lucky in the sense of, for a lot of my time, I would collaborate with writers. I wasn't just given a script and said, hey, say this.
Yeah.
And that was really nice. It was fun. So that was it. And then
let's just rewind here for a quick second to you having that conversation with Dr. Maroon.
It wasn't a conversation. He had already left.
What, did he leave you a fucking memo? What happened?
He did actually write me a very nice note. Dr. Maroon and I have a great relationship, and you would think it would be different because he was the doctor who wouldn't clear me, but I also knew that he was looking out for my health and the best interest of me. And so yeah, it's really weird because you have these conflicting relationships with people as far as he is not clearing me. I desire to be cleared. You'd think we would have conflict, but we don't. We came to an understanding. Mm-hmm. Same thing with me and Vince. I think it actually made my relationship with Vince McMahon stronger.
Yeah. Probably has talked to him so much more.
Yeah. And then also being clear about why he's not clearing me or all that kind of stuff. And then when you really talk to people, I think even people who have very different opinions than you, for example, Mayor Kane and I have very differing.
Yeah, that's a big whoops-a-daisy.
Yeah, very, very differing political opinions. But when you come to talk to him and really talk to him, I think the differences are social media aggravates the differences rather than makes you feel like most of us are pretty similar and most of us want the best for everybody, but may think different things are better because of this or because of that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that's been an interesting follow as of late. Okay, AEW. Mm-hmm. The night that you debuted, you and Adam Cole, same night. How did you feel being out in front of a new crowd, coming back as the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson?
It was cool. I mean, just the energy of it was awesome.
Yeah.
So it was just, it was a lot of fun. It was weird though because I was in I was in a trailer, right? In a trailer, waiting, and then sometimes people would come in and sometimes they wouldn't, and then, so I was just so I go and do this thing. And then all of a sudden, I'm meeting all these new people right after, and it was really, really stressful because I'm bad at remembering names. And I don't think that's concussion-based at all. I just think
it can be. I think everyone kind of struggles with that. If anyone says they remember, no one says, "Hey, I remember everyone I meet."
Jim Quick does.
Who does?
Jim Quick.
Oh.
So I don't. He doesn't know me. I know him. He's the guy whose speed reading class I took. So if you go to Quick Learning Online or whatever it is, it's Yeah.
That's actually his name?
So I don't know if he changed his name.
That'd be pretty convenient.
It would be very convenient. Yeah.
Good marketing.
Good marketing. Yeah.
Blackpool Combat Club.
Okay.
How did this idea come together for you guys to be working together? It started really with you and John, and then it's obviously branched out to you guys having this amazing group, but starting with you and John.
So it came about just very organically. And it was just this idea of how do we make me and John's match more interesting when John came back. And the idea, I think, the original idea was, okay, you guys get into a confrontation, you're watching the matches, and then, you're like, I want you, or whatever it is. And I was like, what's more interesting is if my original idea to fight him, or was not to fight him, would just be to join him. Well, why do I want to join him? To make wrestling better. Well, what else could we do? And then, like, in my head, I'm thinking, like, okay, how could I convince him that I'm not just trying to fool him, that I actually want him to do this thing? So then I cut a promo saying, like, imagine the world that we could create if, like, you and I team together and we take some young guys and we take them under our wing and we fucking teach them how this business should be, goddammit. And, like, and when we got to the back after the thing, John was like, yeah, you were pretty persuasive out there.
I'm in.
And then I think persuasive enough that we just joined. We just joined together after we fought. So yeah. So that's kind of how it all came about.
And this serendipitous timing of William Regal becoming available for you guys. I mean, the storyline. Obviously, I mean, Regal's such a common thread throughout your entire career. Same with John. And for him to become available to come in and work with you guys.
Yeah, he's perfect.
God, he's so great.
And even without Blackpool Combat Club or whatever, I just like being able to see him every week.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's more of a mentor to me than most people know. If you want something that's a little on the emotional side, so my dad struggled with alcoholism my entire life, or his entire life, and that's why I've never drank anything like that, and that was something that I always really struggled with. William Regal, because he struggled with addiction in the past, helped me learn to love my dad without trying to change him. Like, just learn to love him as he was.
Yeah.
And so that was so just being able to be around Darren every week is just like it's a real gift.
Was that something that was done purposefully, or was it just something that you were able to kind of make that correlation after spending that much time?
No, I
with
mean,
Darren?
Darren and I talked. He talked about it because there were times when I was like, I'm trying to do this for my dad or trying to do that for my dad and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he said, listen, you can't make him want to change, right? Like, until he wants to do it himself. And then he and I had these talks and that sort of thing about that sort of thing. And it just really transformed my relationship with my dad. So the last 10 years of my dad's life, we were so much closer than we were before. And that's something that you can't, I couldn't thank him enough for that,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And now you got to name your son after your dad.
Yep.
That was just such a no-brainer for you guys, of course, right?
Yeah.
Tell me more about your relationship with your dad. You guys would go fishing a lot. Obviously, you spent lots of time.
So my dad was a big hunter, which I.
But I don't with the fish.
There's a great picture, with the fish. So he takes me and my sister fishing. My dad and my sister are both like smiling with this big fish, and there I am crying on the side, and it's just like one of those things. I've always struggled with the idea of with that sort of thing, but he and my mom too, and so my mom and my dad did a great job of inspiring me to love nature, right? And that's also, I think, one of the things that's helped me mentally. If you talk about things like, you'll just helps me get back to centered, you know? And so, so we did a lot of like hiking, camping, that sort of thing. Bree has a hard time with the idea of sleeping on the ground in a tent. And so I don't think we're ever going to take our family on camping trips unless it's just me and probably just Buddy. Because
you go like glamping, maybe.
Yeah, that's what she said. She's like, I'll be into glamping. I'm like, glamping? What's glamping? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, yeah, that's...
Trying, I'm fighting for it.
My body feels great.
Yeah?
Yeah, I could sleep on the ground right now.
Well, it's probably like that hard surface helps too a little bit, yeah? No?
I don't think so.
Don't know? Not sure? What other things did your parents instill in you that are things that you're so conscious of now as a parent?
So, my dad and my mom are both. So one of the things, they got divorced when I was young because of my dad's alcoholism. Like, my mom still loved my dad, but it's just better for us. And but despite that, and probably them having animosity towards each other at different points, they never talked bad about each other, ever.
Yeah.
So we were, you see some people whose parents were divorced, and the parent might talk bad about the other parent or whatever. But my dad, he would say this to my sister even until the day, like she would say something and complain about her husband to him. Bree and I weren't married when my dad passed actually 2 weeks after Bree and I got married. But he said, don't throw dirt, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I always try to, even people I dislike, it doesn't do you any good to talk bad about people, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't like somebody, that's fine. You know what I mean? But there's no reason to like, oh, this person, what an asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I can tell you all that I don't like The Miz, right? But in saying that, like, I'm not going to say he's an asshole. I'm going to say that dude works super hard.
Yeah.
And
blew my mind when I was reading your book, hearing about like your mom. Like she
she was Superwoman.
ass.
She was Superwoman, and not Superwoman. So in the sense of like, so when I was going through high school, so she just graduated high school, realized that she wanted to help people, got her degree in psychology, but while she was going to college, the same time I was going to high school, she like had to start at like math like 98s, which you don't even get credit for.
Yeah.
So while also taking my sister and I, we both played sports all the time. So while also making us feel loved and that we weren't like some sort of nuisance or anything.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, I mean, as much as like you like rattling those things off, but like actually, I think I appreciate it so much more as a mom now too.
Two like minimum wage jobs.
Oh my God.
And then be stressed about finances. Actually, there was one point, I think it was my junior year of high school, my mom collapsed on a walk because she was so stressed. And it's just like,
gosh.
But she never.
I always think that too. Like when I think of like my mom, my parents split when I was really young too, and yeah, I mean we went camping, we went on these little trips. She was working, a million different jobs, but never did we ever feel that things that she was able to pull off so seamlessly.
Yeah, and she didn't really date either, so it wasn't like there wasn't like this. So and I mean she had to at some times have been lonely and that sort of thing. Yeah, she didn't really date or anything.
Shout out to our parents.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Okay, back to AEW and Blackpool Combat Club. Let's talk about Claudio getting that call.
Claudio.
He was just in here. Is he still here? Claudio.
So strong. Claudio. That's a song we made up years ago about him. It goes like this, if you guys ever want to try to chant it. If I'm going to talk bad about one person, I'm going to talk bad about Eddie Kingston. Do you know why? Because Eddie Kingston always talks bad about me. And the only thing that I have to say to that is that he also hates Claudio.
Yeah.
So that's probably not a reflection on me.
That kind of blessing in disguise in the way of let's get Claudio in here to AEW. It was such a no-brainer for him to become a part of Blackpool Combat Club. Obviously, it's not like it's that far of a fucking stretch. But
for Forbidden Door, when it was very clear that I wasn't going to be ready for Forbidden Door, I called Tony and I was like, hey, I have a great idea. Put Claudio in my place. We should sign. I didn't say we should sign Claudio. I didn't know Claudio was signed, but I said I'm sure Claudio would just come in to do a spot, right? And
who wants to
be
be swung?
I've talked to his agent. I don't think he's just going to come in and do a spot. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, but just so you know, and don't tell anybody, I've already signed him. So
yeah. He was already there.
He was already there. Yeah.
Oh, all right, great. Are we going to expand Blackpool Combat Club?
I don't know.
Aren't you in control of this thing? What's going on?
I'm in control of very little in my life. I don't control where I live. I don't control what I do on a day-to-day basis at all.
Would you mean like you just flew in and we're in a hotel room to do nothing?
Well, because we live on the West Coast, it didn't make any sense for me to fly from Boston to the West Coast where my kids weren't even going to be at the house and then fly back out here on the Friday. So I flew in Thursday. Nope.
Not interested.
Nope, not interested. I love your baby. Not interested.
No, thank you. What does this run mean to you? This version of your career, you getting to have these matches that you want to have, working with some young talent, being that you're so weird to interview.
Yeah. Well, it's hard because people ask these questions. What does this mean to you? And it doesn't mean anything other than being very grateful that I'm able to do it because, I'm able to wrestle the way that I want to wrestle and really enjoying it. I'm getting to work with people that I love being around. getting to interact with people that I've never met before.
Or you're like, oh shit, this person's here. This person can do this awesome thing that I was not aware of.
Well, so I had kind of watched it, and I saw people could do awesome things, so I wasn't really surprised by anybody being awesome. I like people who are fun, and I love being surprised that people are fun. Right?
Okay.
I came into the locker room.
You're a shithead in the locker room too,
What do
aren't
you mean?
I think you're a shithead.
What do you mean?
You're like a river. You're like kind of fucking with people all the time.
No, I'm not fucking with people. I came in and everybody was on their phones in the locker room. That's not what I want.
Okay.
In the last 3 years of my career, I don't want to spend in a locker room with a bunch of young guys looking at their phones like this. So, we talk about flaccid penises asexually. We are not talking about anything that would be considered perverted or anything like that.
Okay.
And it's just amongst the
medical.
boys. It's the boys.
Okay.
Talking about flaccid penises.
Sounds like a blast. It
is
sounds
a
like
blast.
a really great time.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
What else is next for you when you think about the other side of wrestling? There was a point in time. Did you actually go back?
Design class that's only 2 weeks, but
okay.
But then no, I got accepted into ASU and actually got a scholarship.
Oh shit!
Because of my previous grades at Grace Harbor Community College, where I have
Shout out.
I almost have an associate's degree. Anybody with an associate's degree know that you can't do much with an associate's degree, but I'm 5 credits away, and the 5 credits I'm missing is in health and physical education.
Great. Well, can't you speed read your way through that?
I mean, back in 2005, when I was close to competing, the online courses didn't have health and those ones. So I would have had to physically be there, and I couldn't do it. But I got a scholarship to ASU in the environmental science program. But then I couldn't do it because then they brought me in as the GM, which also made me. When we're talking about that period of talking smack where I was a little cantankerous.
Cantankerous. That's a Vince word if I've ever heard one.
Is it? I like to think it's my word.
It's funny because when you were GM, because I would often have to start the show without you.
Yeah.
And wait for you to just come flying in like a bat out of hell, get mic'd up, and jump on there real quick.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys all so much for coming out. A big thank you to Bryan for finally getting you here on the show because you didn't respond to my text, but we get to do it here.
Do you know why I didn't respond to your text? Because I was
You were
paying
gonna do
attention to
this.
somebody else that I was in the moment with
fair
at
enough.
the time.
Fair enough. Guys, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.